Ladies, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Cheryl Nelson here. I just wanted to come on. I'm not going to be long today. I woke up this morning and somehow I don't have a voice. But I said I just wanted to. This was just burning in my heart. Still talking about Sarah and how she's impacted my life. And every day I just say, Lord, what is it that you want me to share about the journey? And Sarah was quite, I did mention her being a very courageous and unafraid. And I did hint early in Genesis 12 when there was a famine in the land and Abram at the time, decided that he was on his way. He was fearful. He knew she was beautiful. And so he said, told her, tell them that you are my sister. Half truth, but she was his sister. But it was because of his fear. Sometimes we're in situations and we are in the situations, women of God, not because of our own, but because of the relationship we're in. And it causes us to become very defensive instead of reaching deep into who we are in God. Because remember, the promise over Abraham involved Sarai. So it was Sarah's promise too. We have got to take ownership for who we are in God, even in the relationships we're in. They can be difficult at times. Those of us that have come in traumatic situations, and then you come into a relationship with God, and you're like, Lord, how am I going to get out of this? You may be in a difficult marriage relationship. You may be in a difficult relationship, a challenging relationship, more than difficult, but challenging. But the Lord is saying to us, do not fear. And I just see Sarah as being very courageous and unafraid because he did it once to her in Genesis 12:11. But this is repeated again as they're journeying. Now, remember, he had come out with Lot. And then there was a time in the journey when Lot's was prospering so much that his cattle and everything was a lot, and he had his own herdsmen, and he was traveling with Abram, who was the father, you know, of the tribe. He was a tribal leader. But then Abram's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen, they were having a problem. And so Abram took the lead to say, okay, we're not here to have arguments. So you choose one way and I'll choose the next. Lot chose to go one way, Abram went another way. And the story continues. So they're still journeying together. There's this promise of this child that has not yet happened. The first time Abram went into Egypt with Sarah, when they came back out, Sarah now has a maid that looks after her, personal maid. And we're going to hear about Hagar. What I'm saying, she's courageous because this thing happens to her again. While you're traveling, if you look in Genesis 20, verse 2, Abram is continuing to travel now. And he says to his wife, from there, Abram traveled to the region of Negev, settled between Kadesh and Shur. And while he was staying in Gerar, Abram said about his wife Sarah, by now the name had been changed, she is my sister. So King Abimelech of Gerar had Sarah brought to him. So he's still using that line. And Sarah is still courageous because there's a word over her. There is a word over you. God has made promises to you. Do not forget the promises that He's made to you, my sister. Don't forget, my mother in the faith, what He has spoken to you, who He says you are, where you need to be walking and being obedient to. keep on growing in him. And as you grow deeper in him, you're growing and growing in the purposes. You are fulfilling what he's called, because Sarah is growing. She's going through stuff. And God protects her again, because verse 2, God came to 3 says, God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, you are about to die because of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman. Okay? Abram said, she's my sister, but there's a word over my life. You can think and say who you think I am, but I know who I am, and sometimes I have to be quiet about it. But the God who knows me, Psalm 139, he knows everything about you. He knows everything about me. And in Psalm 139, verse 1 and 2, possibly 3, he knows when you are far from him. He knows when you are close to him. There is nothing about you and the promises that he has said to you that he forgets. And so Abimelech was in for a treat, because he said, you are a dead man. My sisters, isn't that awesome? And so today I want to encourage you in Isaiah 43, restoration and protection promised to the Israelites. Isn't this interesting, right? He says, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God. The Lord is saying to us this morning, today, wherever you find yourself, do not be afraid. Only be thou courageous. Only be thou strong, and be in him, step in him. And so I really want to encourage you today. I remember when it took courage, great courage for me, shifting. I told you about my incident where I had injured my back, was out for 8 months, 9 months, received my healing, went back into nursing, but I went to work in the neonatal unit of the hospital for a period. And then my husband took up a pastoral position in another side of the country. Yes. And so, courage, here I go, moving along. Abraham's journey was Sarah's. I'm speaking from that place. I am a mother in Zion. I'm speaking from the place of being a daughter who has walked with the Lord. I'm speaking from the place of being a mother of children, physical and spiritual. I'm speaking from the place of loving the fact that I'm a daughter of God and I'm loved by him. You are loved by him today. Bless you. Continue in your journey. Look up and look out. Look in and receive what he has for you today. Be blessed. Remember, he knows everything about you right now, where you are. He does. He really does.